Hey, Picard here, back for episode 2 of Leftovers Vlogs. And I have to say, I've been really excited to work on this episode. I've been trying to record it all week. Really, I've been trying to record it since last Sunday, even though last Sunday didn't go necessarily the way that I thought it would go. I've been just really excited since the last episode, I think, in my opinion, turned out really well to do this episode too. Also, I would like to give a shout out first to this speed paint that you're looking at right now, because I just really love the way it turned out. So I don't normally, during the week, I don't normally draw a lot of free artwork, or just things that aren't comic work or stuff for my jobs. So it's really nice to have kind of a requirement to draw something fun, because I need speed paints for these episodes now. So I really enjoy that. I also, when I said I wanted to give a shout out, I need to bring up the actual comment too real quick. That kind of reminded me, I wanted to give a shout out to, let me find the name of the person that commented on my last video. Yes, okay, a Cottontail Nightfang, I believe is what their name is. I wanted to give a shout out to them. I'm going to respond to your comment, but if I haven't already, but I wanted to give a shout out to them because they wrote me a novel, and I really appreciate it. I love having dialogue, back and forth about stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff is really interesting too. It's also really nice to just see that somebody else is going through the same struggles that you're going through. So yeah, thank you, Cottontail Nightfang, for the awesome comment. Alright, so last video, to get into the actual stuff for this episode. Last episode, I believe I mentioned that I was going to be going on Sunday to work out a game plan to reread through my Brainstorm list, and then work out a game plan for next year's hiatus. And I did do that. I did actually do that. I went and I sat at a cafe that's really cool nearby. We have this really cute cafe that's specifically meant for people to, because it's near the college, so it's specifically meant for people to go sit down and do work. And they sell tea and breads and stuff, buns. So it's a really nice place. But I went there and I sat down for, I want to say 6-ish hours. I think I was there from 11, I think, to maybe 4. I ended up getting a migraine, so I had to leave. And plus there was more people in there, which makes sense now that I think about it, because it's kind of final season. But there was more people in there than I bargained for, so I ended up leaving earlier. I ended up leaving around 4, and I wanted to leave at 6. But I also didn't really see myself going anywhere, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So I did end up doing that. But the night before, so I think it was Saturday night, I think, after I finished my stream, I made a game plan for the day where I would make my game plan. So I know I always say oh, I'm a pantser, not a planner, but I need to have a structure for things, or else I will research until the cows come home. So I need to have an actual structure on how to do stuff. And plus, I didn't want to go to I almost said the place. I didn't want to go to this cafe and just be sitting there oh man, you ever have those times, I'm pretty sure if you've been in college, or even high school too, you've had those times where you have to do a research project or you have to study, and you get there and your mind is just full of cats. You can't actually study because you don't know where to start, basically. So I didn't want that to happen, so I made a game plan for the game plan planning. I forgot what it was. I think I called it, here's my game plan for planning my game plan, or something like that. But yeah, so in my notebook, I made a six step plan for how I was going to approach my brainstorm dump, and what I was going to do with it, etc., because the goal was to read through it again and basically figure out what I need to work on when it comes to writing for and leftovers for what I need to work on when it comes to writing leftovers next year, because there's like so many things, like, you know, I want to write, you know, these episodes, I need to make episode detailed scripts, but I need to like fix these potholes, and it gets really confusing. So starting with the brainstorm dump, and having that be kind of like, okay, this is what's in my head now and what I want to do, but it just needs to be like spruced up, or, you know, conversely or inversely, whatever, I could look at it and be like, man, this needs way more than a spruce up. So that was just trying to figure out where I landed. There was the game plan for Sunday. So the first step was a reread refresh. I gave them all names. Okay, because it's just the type of person I am. Reread refresh was number one. I love alliteration. All right, don't come at me. And that step was to reread the whole thing without taking notes, with nothing in my hand to like write anything down, just so I can get a general idea of the scope that I have planned for the story. Mind you, this is a 76-page document, so I'll talk about how it went, how the whole thing went later, but that was the plan. That was step number one. Step number two is a detailed reread. Reread it again, but this time taking notes of like plot holes and stuff I need to elaborate on, etc., etc. Number three was the theme reread. So I was going to go through from step two, I was going to go through all the notes and then label things that I needed to, things that like patterns I noticed. So like, oh, the world building is not really fleshed out, or oh, this character's motivation isn't fleshed out. Notes that I had, and like the different patterns that I had noticed from the notes that I took from the brainstorm dump. So the theme reread was to go back through for each thing. So like secondary character motivation, read back through to see like, okay, where does the secondary character's motivation like pop up, and how can I spruce that up? World building, okay, where, you know, read it back through to see like where can I insert better world building here and there, you know. And then step number four was research mode, which was to pick 5 videos regarding plotting or planning, and then watch those and take notes. The reason why I say specifically to pick 5 videos is because, and maybe you have this problem too, but I have a real issue with getting caught up in researching, or like, well, yeah, it's also all researching, but I have a real problem with getting caught up in researching as a safety method. So executing, you know, these plans, these actual, like for instance, the narrative thing, working on a narrative is really stressful and causes me anxiety. So why do that when I can just plan and research how, you know, to execute things? So a lot of the times when it's time for me to like do something, I'll find myself getting stuck in the planning stage, because that is my comfort zone. So one of my coworkers from a while ago, from my last job anyway, told me when I was mentioning to them about like the whole planning thing and like how I realized that was a safety area. They mentioned this thing that they follow, which is, it's plan your work. Yeah, plan your work and work your plan. So basically, plan specifically what you're going to do, in this case, picking 5 videos, and then work that plan. You only watch these 5 videos and nothing else. Because if you go outside of that, obviously that defeats the purpose. So, yeah, you know, pick those things, or 5 links, or whatever you want to do. Do that and nothing else. So, research mode, pick 5 videos, and I'll go into more detail about what those videos were for me later on. Number 5 was figure out the phases. So after I looked at all the compiled notes, I was going to put together like the game, basically the game plan in order of like certain phases for next year. So let's say like, oh, I need to work on my characters, and that's phase 1, and then I need to work on the world building, and that's phase 2, stuff like that. And then number 6 was calendar it out. A little bit less of a cute nickname for these like past 2, but calendar it out is basically just put tentative due dates, milestones, etc. On the like an actual calendar. So Sunday I had in mind to at least get steps 1 through 4 done, but 5 and 6 I wasn't gonna like worry about too much, so long as I get those done before New Year's, because that's when I want to start, 2022. So now I got my plan, had my plan for my plan. How did it go? I didn't really follow any of it. So okay, when I got up in the morning to go to the cafe, I was like, you know what? It would be kind of baller, I think, if I just did my research mode first. Because like, if I go in and I watch the videos first, then like on the videos about plotting and planning and stuff, then I'll know what to look for and what I'm lacking when I go in to like reread my entire brainstorming document. I'll know what to look for. So I think we all kind of, well, I'll just say for me anyway, personally, when it comes to like plotting and stuff like that, everybody knows like the 3-act structure and the or at least I know the 3-act structure and everything, and it's easy to feel like, oh yeah, I know what this is, I got this on lock. But without actually researching it and going into it, you can like lose those certain aspects across or over time. So basically the videos that I watched really helped me hone back in on like, okay, this is their 3-act structure, which, we all know acts 1, 2, and 3, you got the rising action, climax, stuff like that. But these are specifically what these are supposed to function as or focus on. And I think it's easy to lose those details when you're kind of like looking at a macro level. If I had to like compare it to art, it's like, okay, I did studies on how to draw a head, right? But later on, because I haven't kept up with those studies, now when I draw a head, it's a little less structured. It's a little like, and not purposefully so either. It's a little less structured because I'm my skill is getting a little bit off because I need to like refresh. So that's kind of what I had to do with these videos. It's important to learn the rules before you break the rules too. So, because a lot of times I'm like, oh man, Leftovers doesn't really have the same kind of structure as, regular stories. It just, cause it all seems kind of nebulous when I think about it like that, where it's like, oh, Leftovers is like, different in the way that it's, longer, and it's got like, the acts are different, and it doesn't follow like the regular like hero's tale, you know what I mean? But when you research it and when you like actually look into it, it's not that different. It's not that different. And if I want it to be, wanted to go break structure, I need to know what the structure of a story is first. So I had a lot of fun refreshing on that by watching those videos. Okay, here we go. The videos that I watched, I'll list those out, and they're going to be in the description too. So if you want to watch those, I highly recommend them. Honestly, they're all really nice and really helpful. So the videos I watched, number 1 is how to plot a comic from start to finish. And number 2, my favorite plotting method, which is the LACE method. And both of those videos are by McKay and Gray. And then number 3 was how to write an outline for your book, Outlining for Pantsers, by the Brook. I gotta like separate the by's there, but it's by the Brook. Number 4 was 10 best tips for planning a book series by Writing with Jenna Moreci, I think, or Moretti. I think it's Moreci. I don't know, but again, links are in the description. And then number 5, the last one, is Plotting a Story for Writers Who Hate Plotting by Abby Emmons. And I think that last one is the one that helped me the most, to be honest. So I watched each of those videos, I took notes, And I find that I don't really do that often. Like, if I watch a video on somebody talking about their webcomic, or I watch a video on someone like talking about like writing or whatever, I don't really take notes. I just kind of like listen to it to see what their experience is. And I'm not gonna say it's like a sense of arrogance, but I definitely need to take notes more, because just because I'm familiar, I have a cursory familiarity with writing or with doing art, doesn't mean that there isn't more to learn, which is weird to say, because like I love learning, but when it comes to like certain things, I'm like, oh, okay, I know that, I don't really need to take notes on that, and so I just end up watching it for like somebody's vlogs or somebody's different experience. I should definitely make a more of a habit of like actually sitting down, watching the video, and like pausing, taking notes, etc., because I learned some really cool stuff during this. So okay, two things that stuck out to me are "Right by the seat of your pants first," which was a line in By the Brooks video, which I already listed, so I won't say the title again, but "Right by the seat of your pants first" stuck out to me, because that's exactly what I did. Now, when I say, okay, there's still like a lot that I had to learn, and a lot of like me not focusing on or me not adhering to the structure and stuff like that, etc. A lot of times when I was watching these videos, I was like, oh, okay, I'm already doing that, I just need to like tighten it up a bit. And I'm glad I watched this video, because I needed whatever they were saying. I needed to hear that. Right by the seat of your pants first is one of those things, because I definitely already did that. Basically, By the Brook was suggesting to just like, for pantsers, because her video was specifically like for pantsers that don't like outlining, or pantsers who are intimidated by outlining, is to write a few chapters just by the seat of your pants, and then you can like start the outlining process. And I definitely have done that. Like, I think honestly, I'd say, since I'm just sitting down and like specifically planning out everything now, I would just say chapters 1 through 17 of Leftovers are by the seat of my pants chapters, or chapters 1 through 16, I guess, because 17 is the one that I'm going to be putting out when I come off this hiatus. But yeah, I found that to be, really poignant, because she has the same kind of experience that I do, where it's like, okay, I can't just go in guns blazing, super planned. I need to know my characters first. I need to experience them first, before I sit down and try to plan something out. So I just thought that like line stuck with me, because I just thought it was pretty cool, really relatable. Another line that stuck with me was from Abby Emmons' video, "Your outline should serve you and not the other way around." That one really hit me. Actually, just Abby's video hit me a lot in general, because like I was consistently being called out by that video. But "Your outline should serve you and not the other way around" is such a simple statement, but something that you don't really, or at least I never really thought of it that way, where it's like you're gonna make an outline that is going to serve your needs. You're not like making an outline just like making an outline the way you should, quote unquote, be making an outline, and then trying to decipher that later on. Like, you need to make something that fits you, and that really helped. So every now and then you just need that extra push. Every now and then you just need somebody to tell you something that might seem simple, but like radically changes the way you think about something. So those were the two like most poignant things that I got from these videos, outside of actually getting more notes on like plot structure and stuff like that, which was just indispensable, super helpful. So alright, after I did the videos, I still had to reread my brainstorm notes. So like I mentioned several times before, this document was 76 pages long. In my original game plan for the game plan, I had on there, I think steps 1 through 3 were both like reread it. I don't know what I was on Saturday night. Like, clearly I was on one to think that I could reread a document that's 76 pages long several times. I don't know who she was making that plan on Saturday night, but I don't have the attention span for that shit. And I sat down in the cafe and I immediately came face to face with my ADD. I was like, nah, dog, I'm not doing this. So I did try though. I did try. I first trying to reread and I got to page 21, which is not bad. And I was like, all right, this is getting me nowhere. Just rereading it regular without any notes is getting me nowhere. So I'm gonna go back to the beginning and reread with taking notes. I started rereading with taking notes, and I'm pretty proud of like what ended up coming out of that. Even though I didn't get through the whole document, I think I got the page. I stopped even earlier. I stopped even earlier than 21. That second round, I can't remember what page it was, but I took notes. Not just as notes, but I took notes in the form of questions. So stuff like, what is Mauville's policy on trainers who don't have a proper trainer card? You know what I mean? Like stuff where I was reading through and I was like, this makes no sense. So instead of like saying this makes no sense, I would just ask a question. What, needs to be established in order for this to make sense? And I also, because I had a bunch of like really pretty colored pens, so I also starred them based on what they pertain to. So I think I had world building was green, politics was blue, main character stuff was pink, and secondary character stuff was orange. It might have been more, but those are the four that I can think of off the top of my head. And I would go through each question and star them based on what they were pertaining to. And then I basically broke down what I thought I needed to work on based on the questions that I asked. I had so I used each of the headers, the world building, main character, politics, stuff like that, whatever. I broke down each one based on those. And I was just trying to really figure something out, because I needed to go there and make the game plan. That was what I was supposed to do. That was the game plan for that day. I eventually decided to call it quits, because even though it's attempting to break down what I thought I needed to work on based on different categories, it still felt like everything was really nebulous. It still felt like I didn't have, or I wasn't going anywhere outside of taking good notes on the videos. I was still really proud of that, but other than that, the planning part of it, I just kind of took a loss. I just kind of took a loss on that on Sunday, and I went home, and I mentioned before that I had a migraine, so I ended up having to leave anyway. And I'm just now, I think it's Friday, so it's been a good bit. It's been 5-ish days, and I'm just now getting over the migraine. I just had a migraine. It's been perpetual, but that's a whole different situation. But yeah, so I decided to call it quits on Sunday. I decided to come back home. Wasn't a total loss because I got good notes on videos, but I was still kind of iffy. I was still kind of disappointed about the fact that I didn't have an actual game plan on what I needed to work on. I just had a bunch of attempts to identify what I needed to work on. And yeah, so I ended up coming home, and then I think I sat on it for a little bit, because one thing I did want to do, one thing I did walk away with a plan for, was to look at Abby Emmons' form. So in her video, she had a form that was breaking down the 3-act structure of your story, and she did it for some story, and I can't remember what it was, but it's in the video if you watch it, but she like broke it down. It was super simplistic, like not, you know, huge paragraphs. I forgot which person mentioned this, but they were like, if you're bullet pointing in long paragraphs, you're doing it wrong. So like for the, you know, for the outlining situation, because you just need to and that was something that By the Brook mentioned actually that really helped, where she was like, mention, like, you don't have to mention, okay, this person is robbing a bank because they need money for their child, and they're getting the help of their father, and they have a complicated history with their father because this, that, and the other. Like, you don't need that last part. All you need is person needs money for child, robs bank with father, essentially. So that really helped too, because it's like, oh man, I can just really go in on some stuff sometimes. But yeah, so Abby Emmons had a form in their video, and I need to go see if it's like available to download, but they were basically breaking down the 3-act structure, but each act was broken down into other things, and I thought that was really helpful. Like, and not just like rising action and stuff like that. It was like more detailed stuff. I thought that was really helpful. So what I was gonna do is, and what I had been planning to do since Sunday, was to go through and do one of those forms for each of the seasons of Leftovers that I have planned, based on like the brainstorming dump, and based on like what kind of like things I still kind of had in my head that I had formed since reading the Brainstorm Dump. I was going to do one for each season of Leftovers, and then looking at each of those seasons, I was going to do one for the entire someone's taking the thing in the building. Then I was going to do one for the entirety of Leftovers, so the whole story. I had been planning on doing that since Sunday and just never got around to it, but the one thing that was sticking in my head is that, oh man, this form is so cool. Like, it'll be so easy to like sit down and you know, with limited space, to sit down and fill out this form or fill out this worksheet, whatever. I'm, you know, excited to do that. And then I started thinking about, like, outside of the forms, I started thinking about, okay, I need to like plan what I'm gonna do next year. I need to plan out, you know, what sort of things are gonna happen in Leftovers, how much planning do I want to do. And I started getting frustrated whenever I was thinking about planning, because of like my pantser nature. It just kind of felt like I was trapping myself. I promise I'm leading up to something. It felt like I was trapping myself in the details if I dedicated myself to planning out everything, or not necessarily everything, but just planning out anything in general. Basically, I needed to figure out what needed to be planned and what doesn't need to be planned. And I think it was Wednesday night, I believe, where I was doing dishes, and it just kind of hit me that like it's all about frameworks. Knowing the basic outline, but saving little details and like fun stories, etc., for just the seat in my pants mentality. And I think By the Brooks mentioned something like this too. But basically, I don't need to know, you know, I don't need to know everything about like the world building. I just need to know, how do certain Pokemon function, how do types function, and then we can like figure out like the legends around certain Pokemon and like the myths and stuff, and how those Pokemon are treated in society. Stuff like that can happen on the fly. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to like go into this as much as I can without spoiling anything, and having to use like general like phrases for stuff is hard sometimes. But yeah, so basically it's all about just coming up with the outline of things, coming up with the framework of how something would work. So like I have to do a lot of spoilers if you don't want to hear anything about Leftovers, like as far as what's involved. And I'll put I'll put the number on the screen for when you can skip to. But I have to do a lot of stuff when it comes to politics and Hoenn and just like the world of Pokemon in general, for reasons. So instead of like figuring out like what are all the laws, I just need to figure out, okay, what departments are there, and then I'll know, you know, okay, if the law comes up, like I decide to make a law while I'm like writing a chapter or something, and it comes up and it's like, all right, now I know what department needs to take care of that, or what department would take care of that. Like I don't need to know right off the bat. I can just cross that bridge when I get there, if that makes sense. So ending the spoiler section there. But yeah, so I was doing dishes and I was like, you know what would be kind of cool? What if instead of just doing the 3-act breakdown form, what if I did forms worksheets for everything? Like literally everything, from like the government stuff to like Pokemon species. And that's what I ended up deciding to do. And I still need to actually make these worksheets because I still need to like figure out what exactly I need to do. But now I have a container. Now I have a game plan. Now I have like what I'm going to be doing for next year. Next year is just going to be filling out a whole lot of worksheets. And just like basic stuff too. So like, I'm trying to think. Like Pokemon specific worksheets could include stuff like Pokemon type, types of battling, etc., or like the main character worksheets can have a section where it's like 5 foundational events where I just bullet point out what happened, don't go into it or anything, but I just I have that there, so I like have it in a place to hold. I still need to figure out a lot about this, so I'll probably make a video about that too, but just know next year worksheets is on. But then, as if like I wasn't done, you know, as if I hadn't big brained enough that night, I realized that like, oh, you know what I could do? I could make like, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or just the food pyramid, any kind of hierarchy, the ones that use the triangles, any of those. I was like, maybe I can make a hierarchy, like leftovers hierarchy of needs, and which the title's based on the Maslow one, but mine goes from like the top is the most important. It doesn't build up on each other. It goes from the top down, which I know is backwards, but you can like, hopefully I'll put up a picture of it on the screen now, or maybe not, because maybe, okay. If you don't want to know anything about how many seasons are going to be in Leftovers, switch to this timestamp. Although I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But yeah, so I'll, you know, put that up now. But basically, I figured out what I need to work on from the most macro thing down to the most micro thing. So the first one is getting all of the world building together. And then the second ones are, you know, Pokemon culture and human culture, etc., etc. And then it just goes down. So basically, I'm like building on myself, because and you can pause the screen and like read what each stage, like why each stage basically is where it is, which is the blue text on the side. But yeah, I worked on that. I just made it digital, and this is the one that you're seeing on screen now. And yeah. So when we're getting to the end of the video, and I'm just now talking about this hierarchy, which is my game plan, essentially. I still have to work out some stuff on the worksheets. Like I still have to figure out what the worksheets are gonna be made of, or how many worksheets I need, etc., etc. But like the hierarchy is what I'm going to be working on next year. The different stages or different phases, I think is what I mentioned earlier, that I'm going to be working on next year. And I'm so excited and so like just relieved, because honestly, I know I was like kind of joking around about it. Like Sunday was a bit of like a down, a down note for me because I didn't get as much done as I thought I was going to, but you can't rush this stuff, honestly. So the fact that I was able to even still get it done this week, or even still get, it in my mind this week, is still a win for me. So yeah, so the hierarchy is what I'm going to be using as my game plan. I still need to go through, and this is just like house cleaning stuff for like maybe the next video, the next episode. But I still need to figure out how many worksheets I need and what goes on the worksheets, and figure out my specific like milestones and due dates and stuff. So like, when do I want to be done doing my world building for, my government and stuff by, everything like that. So I still need to pair that up with a calendar. And I was gonna say maybe I won't, but no, I need to. I need to at least put those deadlines in place, even if I go past them. But I don't want to like let myself slip into that pattern of, just working on it when I want to work on it. I need a deadline for that. But yeah, so that was, this video is 35 minutes long and counting. So much for these short episodes. Can you believe that I wanted to make these episodes 5 to 10 minutes? Like, who is she? Not me. Deja doesn't do 5 to 10 minute videos. But yeah, hopefully that wasn't like a huge garbled mess. And hopefully, again, you could just listen to it in the background while you were working on your own stuff. But yeah, so that's the second episode. That's the game plan. And I don't know when the next episode is going to come up. It's probably not going to be before New Year's, because I just wanted to get this one up before Christmas because of the artwork that's being featured, which I hope you're enjoying, because I had a lot of fun drawing this picture. I just wanted to get it up before then because it's a Happy Holidays artwork. But yeah, I don't know when the next episode is going to be up, but you will see it when you see it. Weird way to end the video, I know. Let me just stop while I'm ahead. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Hope to see you on my streams on Saturdays if you show up. The season 2 for these Papara Perusa streams is going to be buck wild next year. So please show up. It's every Saturday at 3 p.m. EST. Might be a little different time frame next year. I have to figure that out. But yeah, just at least for the binging streams, it's still going to be Saturday, 3 p.m. EST. But yeah, so hope you guys are having a good holiday, and I will see you in the new year for these episodes. Alright, Papara, signing out.